All right, everybody, welcome. Good morning to our February Leaders Forum. Hopefully everybody can see the agenda today. A lot of probably very similar conversations that we've been having the last several months, but I think for most of us, the light is starting to appear at the end of the tunnel, correct? So we're starting to see, I think Tommy said school starts for him back up on Monday. I think Eric, you shared last month that your kids were coming back or were already back, correct?
March 1st.
March 1st. So we'll kind of get into that as far as plans go, but we've got just obviously big brunt of the conversation will be around district plans for reopening school and probably just discussion around what that looks like. Obviously leading into that, staffing shortages. I know I've been getting questions on what we're doing as far as compression of routes or how we're handling our shortages. Shannon is not going to be here with us today, but she did say that she's been seeing a lot of charters out there that have been running for high schools. So maybe we can get a little peek into those that have high school districts, if they've been doing any of that or anybody that's had any successes with that. I've heard DPS is starting to make the rounds as far as inspections are going. So they've not been out here yet, but want to just hear what from those that have seen them, what their experience has been this year, and just some open discussion if there's anything for future topics to discuss for hopefully March. All right. So with that being said, good morning. Feel free to open the floor up on district plans for reopening. Eric, if you want to lead it off, you feel free to do so.
Yeah, so we've had our special ed and our special ed preschool been back for about a month now. They had the opportunity to return. Very few, not a ton, chose transportation in the preschool area, but the special ed, probably just over half that are attending in person also chose transportation. Continuing meal feeding out until March 1st. So we're supporting that with several routes. And then March 1st is all call. Everybody's scheduled to return. And we anticipate, now I'll tell you the districts, it's going to be the same as October 12th to Thanksgiving, that period we're open. I got a gut feeling we're going to have 60, 65%, not 48, 50%. I mean, just the feeling out there from our public is we're supposed to be doing our jobs and they're not to be teaching their kids. And I can't believe we would see the same numbers. So they did no registration this time, which was just evil. No registration as far as having to register for transport or anything. They said, count on what you had last time. So yeah, we rolled back October 1 with anybody who chooses to come in person will be fully open. And I anticipate that number we'll see to be closer to 60, 65%.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing over here. We're going to be transitioning back after spring break. So the 16th will be our first day back with everybody who's elected for in-person learning. So our numbers, we've already seen 500 additional students than what we had in quarter two before Thanksgiving. But interestingly enough, we've seen a lot of students that were marked in-person learners for quarter two that have elected for flex learning for quarter three. So it's almost come out as a wash for us in transportation goes, but a lot more students that will be physically in the classroom. So, it's going to be interesting as far as, how many parents between now and the next 4 weeks will decide to change those elections. But it really, I guess, going to depend on how much space is in the classroom available for students to come back from flex learning.
We're doing a roll up. We're starting with K2 on Monday, the 22nd, and then 3rd through 5th is added on the 1st, 5-day in-person and hybrid. And then on the 1st, we will have 6th through 8th grade in hybrid only Monday through Thursday. And then everyone is 5-day in person starting on the 16th. There's a line out of our district office door this morning, about 60 deep, for parents coming back to register since we announced we would be starting on Monday. So I've seen an increase so far in about 250 kids from registrations from last week to this morning. I just did my latest download. So they're coming back, and like Eric said, they didn't want to do a registration. They said if they're there, you're gonna pick them up and bring them in. So
Figure it out.
yeah.
Ron, you got anything down in Yuma?
Yeah, we're going to start back 5 days on the 1st for our high school and then on the 8th of March for our elementary district and middle school. And each of the schools did put out a survey to their parents here a week or two ago, and it did come back about 65% of them said that they would send their students back to 5-day learning schedule. So, I think that figure that you were looking at is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So that's what we're gearing up for, is about 65% capacity of what we would normally transport.
Got it. Brian, what about over at Phoenix Union?
So we're next Monday, the 22nd, we're starting with registration. Our plan is to come back after spring break also, but we're going to bring back all staff on March 15th to their regular assignments, their regular sites. And then we will bring students back on the 30th. And during that time, when they start doing registration next week, they're going to do the surveys to find out what percentage we're expecting to come back, and then what percentage are expected to elect for transportation at that time too. Our executive leadership is telling us 30 to 40% right now, but yeah, like you guys, a lot of my students come from your areas too, Levine and South Phoenix. So I'm expecting that to probably be a little higher also.
Getting close for sure. Avery, how about you?
Yeah, our district's bringing all staff back next Wednesday, and we're looking towards in March after our spring break, bringing back all students. So that would be March 22nd, I believe. We're working with our parent portal app to do ride registration so we can try and get some accurate numbers for our buses. But the numbers that we've gotten from surveys, it's right around that 65-70% of normal capacity. So even though we're, like everybody, short on drivers, I think we'll be fine to manage it because of lowered amounts on buses.
Sure.
So
I think there's still going to be some parents that just aren't ready to put them on the bus yet because we can't do
Right.
social distancing. I think our numbers will start out low. I think as it warms up, parents are just going to get tired of it, I guess is the only way to put it. And they're going to start putting them back on. There was a report that came out about 2.5 weeks ago, though, from CDC on school buses and transmission. And it stated that, the window is about 2 to 3 inches down and the AC constantly on. It's such fresh air coming in that there's such little to no transmission on the bus. And I'm trying to find it again. I know I saw it on the school bus drivers page on Facebook, but I wanted to get that link. I think we were ahead of the game on that anyway. So that may be something we can use to try and get our numbers back up, because I know we all cringed when we did our 100-day reports on mileage.
Yeah, it is what it is.
I agree.
Yeah, I didn't cringe. I was like, oh, you know what I mean? That's out of my control. I did what I was supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. But it was
Yeah,
like,
you know what I mean?
ooh.
Like, it was like, sorry, there's no one here. Sorry.
I did
about
not
that.
do 5,200 miles a day this year. I did 1,000 miles a day this year. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
Start
they locked
collecting.
us in. We're good. We'll get our money. All's good.
So,
They won't short you. Come on now, Tommy.
oh, okay. Okay.
Well, you watch. You're good. Everything's good.
So, Tommy, I have a question. Carol from Kayenta Schools.
Yes.
Once you do the homework, you find that link and you read about it, get all that data and all that stuff. Are you able to do like a virtual outreach to us and find out what you find out? Because we're going to be starting our school next week. And I'd like to find out. We have our meeting today, so I won't really know more information, but I'd like to have some of that information you get.
Yeah, if I find it, I will, I'll put it up send it to Jason so we can link it on the TAA website under resources. And then Carol, I'll send you the email too. I have no
Perfect.
problem with that as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Ernie just asked or said that he's transporting 2 per seat. Other people were asking that, and Kim's asking. I think most of us are, because part of the thing from CDC said if you can't social distance, that's why masks are required. And then, our seat height on the new ones is considered a barrier when we talked to Dr. Moran. So I'm doing 2 to a seat. If they're family members, they sit together. If they're not, I'll try 1 to a seat. But if I'm loading up, I'm going to do 2 to a seat to get them to and from.
And I think it's really just going to, the cautionary language that we've been using is that so that we're not held to that, is that when possible, I think are the key words, of when possible, when it's feasible to do so, we're able to do that. But we've seen that just on pretty much about 80% of our routes that we're only transporting, 25, 30 kids. So naturally you're going to be able to get those 2 to a seat or 1 to a seat type scenarios. We only have a handful of buses that are having the, probably 50 to 55 students per bus. So it's looking like a full load, but masks are required. We have the hand sanitizer and everything. And after we pull out, we're pretty much dropping 10 to 15 kids within the first couple stops anyways.
Yeah.
And then you can offer the kids to move around. Some of the things that we are seeing as far as just contact tracing that's been kind of difficult when you've offered them the ability to move is having to go back through cameras and figure out who's moved into a specific seat. We've been asked for our middle school students to actually keep attendance on the bus for middle school students. I don't know why they won't do it for elementary. I think they think the administrators at elementary levels have a little bit better handle on which kids are coming to and from school every day. As far as the middle school goes, we created a roster sheet with some spaces Monday through Friday, so that basically the driver, as the kids are getting off the bus, can just, kind of call roll or check the box at the student road, and then we'll just keep record of that until an exposure pops up, so to speak.
And we're doing the wristbands again. We're doing the wristbands again for all of our riders, and the drivers will take the wristband from the student, put in a baggie, and we're holding them for 2 full weeks for contact tracing after the 2 weeks to throw them away. Ernie, for clarification, also what we're doing as well, we're leaving the front row behind the driver empty for all students. So we start loading from that second row back, and then if we have to isolate someone or quarantine because parents can't come get them, they go up there or something like that. But yeah.
Anybody else got any information to add to this? Loading back to front, unloading front to back. Yep. Those are all good strategies that, we've been using. We were even trying to stagger buses at the loading zone, separate kids so that they're all not congregating in kind of one area, or trying to figure that out. Became a lot more difficult for middle school students just because we have about 1,000 kids per campus. So all trying to load and dismiss and get them on the road in a timely manner kind of became an issue. But again, we really didn't have a lot of issues prior to Thanksgiving from what we were seeing. And like I said, we were transporting about 1,700 kids every day. Obviously numbers way down, but we anticipate seeing an increase here going forward for sure.
But it is nice to start to see the community spread drop. That is nice watching it drop. So I know I looked at our numbers yesterday. We went down from like 430 per 100,000, like 313 this week. So, I mean, it's just dropping steadily in my area, thankfully.
Yep.
The loading back to front, I get it. My thing with elementary kids, because I'm running K5, I refuse to put my kinder first graders in the back. My littles stay up front. So I haven't been doing that with those. And I haven't been pushing it with my elementaries at all. So
yeah. The assigned seats have definitely come in handy, for the contact tracing piece, making sure that, again, I think when you're looking at the language behind, what is considered an exposure, if they're just walking past each other and they're all masked up, have they really been exposed? If somebody walks right past them, it's more that 15-minute time frame within 6 feet of each other is really where it becomes, the language. And I think that you have the proof in the cameras to show who was sitting around that student for a longer period of time. You know, it's really, we've been leaning on our district nurses heavily to kind of, in our HR department, to really guide us through the process every time that we have an exposure. So it's not really us making the call.
Do you have a lot of problems with your students wearing their masks or wearing them correctly?
Not from what I've heard. I mean, I haven't been on a bus, maybe only once or twice this year. So, but from what I'm hearing, just in what we've been transporting, I mean, there's not been the issue that we speculated there would be prior to the school year starting. I think everybody was just, you know, really up in arms about it. And I think the schools have been doing a really good job. Parents have been doing a really good job about, you know, the education behind it, the encouragement of wearing it. I think the kids understand, especially the middle school students understand, like they don't want to be at home anymore. They're ready to come back to school. And if that means that they have to do it, they're figuring it out. I mean, every once in a while you see a mask that will drip below somebody's nose, or somebody will pull it down for a minute or whatever. And I think it's just how that consistent reminder and positive reminder about why we're doing it, and, you know, keeping everybody else safe as well as yourself. Those are the things that we haven't had an issue here at Kyrene with it.
Yeah.
We've had a bit of an issue on the special ed side, because at the very beginning, we had the 1 or 2 kids that the parents or somebody said they couldn't wear a mask. And I really fought back hard, because I knew the other kids, if somebody wasn't, they're not going to want to wear theirs.
Sure.
And so then they made the wonderful decision, and I know this is being recorded, and I am so supportive of each principal being allowed to make that list of who doesn't want to wear a mask. So that's when you hit, you know, I have some principals that are like, you got to show me a doctor's note, this is important. And I have others that are like, Johnny doesn't have to wear a mask. But I've kind of educated them back and said, okay, I will agree with you, and I won't fight you if we go mask, shield, nothing. In other words, the shield is far less restrictive, but still does a fair job of blocking transmission, you know, as far as spit and all that, or receiving. So in those cases where I kind of fought back and said, no, we don't just say no mask. Let's provide a shield first and see if the kid will wear a shield. It doesn't, in a few cases, they're like, they'll just wear the mask. So it actually kind of worked, and, you know, so that's what I've kind of been pushing, is if they can't wear a mask, can they wear a shield? If they can't wear a shield, then I guess they wear nothing.
Sure.
I mean, I hope that makes sense, but it just kind of gave me something to argue back, that they don't just arbitrarily, Johnny just doesn't, you know, he's a pain in the butt. I don't want to enforce it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Part of our issue is, like someone, Ernie stated on here, problem with staff more than students. Students follow staff, and they don't see staff doing what they're supposed to, then the students don't want to either. And we've had some students that just flat out told the drivers masks are stupid, which we all know that comes probably from parents. But that's our biggest issue, is getting not all of them, but getting a portion of the kids to wear their masks either at all or correctly. And we try to enforce it. We have sanitizing. We sanitize the buses after every route. We have sanitizers on the bus, all of that. But now they're wanting to open it up more and put more students on the bus. And that concerns me because of the issues we currently have.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, it stems from the top down. And I think that for those of us that have had most of our staff here and, you know, just really in front of people about the mask wearing and making sure that we're, you know, it's out there. I mean, the signage is out there, and I get it. We all have probably 50% of our staff that want to do it and 50% of them that think it's a load of garbage. But, you know, I mean, the big piece is that we're here for one reason, and that's to move kids. And so that's where you put your personal beliefs aside. And, you know, I mean, if you choose not to work here, I guess you choose not to work here, but these are the, you know, the rules that we got to do. And one of one of our school administrator, not, she's a district office administrator, had said, it's the way that it's being rolled out. You tell your kid that you can't go out in public without any pants on, right? So this is the next, another piece of clothing that you got to put on in order to go out to public. I think it's just the kids have really, we haven't seen any issues here. Maybe that's just Kyrene, but I've heard from a lot of districts out here on the east side. I know Trace isn't in here and Josh isn't in here, but they've all expressed the same thing, and they've all been, transportation's been going for them, school in session, while most of us have been in flex learning. So, I don't think Higley's ever closed down at all for anything. So they've been having no issues out there.
We haven't had the issues with the kiddos on Gen Ed or our safe place that we've been busing. Our special needs, Eric, we did have a few. And what some of our drivers came up with was they would take a face shield to the student, and then they let the kids pick out things. And the next day they came and they had their face shield all decorated and blinged out for them. And then the kids were all over it. And then they wanted to wear it all the time and not take it off. So that was one thing that helped with that. With staff, I really haven't had any kind of issues with the masks at all. I've got the one that, wants me to buy gowns for everyone and double gloves and triple masks and everything, and won't disinfect her bus because it's poison and I'm trying to kill her by making her disinfect her bus. But, for the mask part on my guys, it's funny because as soon as they walk outside, they pull them down. I'm not going to say anything. They get on their bus, they're on.
Yeah.
I've not had any issues with people calling and saying your driver's not wearing a mask while driving. So I think it's just how you approach it also as a staff as well. I mean, I'll tell my staff knows I can't stand them, but when I'm out, I have it on all the time. And
Oh, I thought you meant you can't stand your staff. I'm sorry. I was right. You meant the mask. All right, I got you.
just one of the
If
supervisors.
my jaw dropped, Tommy, I thought you were being inappropriate. Like, this is being recorded, Tommy. Stop it.
They know I don't like the masks.
Right, the mask. Yeah.
The masks.
So what's everybody doing about staffing shortages? I assume that most of us are all in the same boat of people leaving, whether it's COVID related or finding a better opportunity or just deciding to retire. So what's I know I'm pretty sure Ernie will probably say that he's fully staffed because he's said that a few months ago. I don't know if that's still, I just hired a contractor that's providing me 5 drivers. So you want to talk to that? Do they have any more to offer anybody?
I don't think he can talk.
No, he can text though. Just got approval to do, oh, this is Avery, just got approval to do a hiring event. So we're getting ready to set that up. So we've done a few hiring events here through our Drive the Bus event. And, it seems like it's good in that it gets prospects in, but I don't know if we're just not offering what people are looking for, or, it seems like we attract a lot of people that are interested in a potential opportunity in the future. Like they're finishing a career or getting ready to retire or wanting to, get out of, close a business or something like that. And they don't have an option yet, but they're looking to exploring that. But I can tell you that we're basically 17 drivers short. We've had to compress 10 routes before Thanksgiving, and I'm going to compress another 4 here before spring break, just to get us through, to the end of the year and probably reevaluate what we're doing. But anybody who's had any success as far as hiring events or use of charters or anybody else, maybe a new company that's out and available that's providing bus drivers?
Have any of you tried the Goodwill? They're pretty good about, well, I don't know now, honestly, but they used to be pretty good about helping with interviews and applications and those sorts of things. Have any of you tried that?
No, it's a good idea though.
They used to be pretty good. I haven't, I've been very lucky, knock on wood. We've been open since August and I am fully staffed, thank the Lord. But in the past, I've used Goodwill and they'll advertise for you, get the applications for you, screen the applicants for you, and then all you do is the interview. So, I mean, that might be an option you can try.
Good idea.
We've
I
been,
can say this, on the driver shortage thing, the one problem I'm really like nervous about is our attendance during this partially on assigned to the schools is worse than ever. I mean, the work habits, I mean, we had people get paid to stay at home and watch videos. And I'm more nervous that what crew I do have should be enough, but are they going to be here 5 days a week?
Right.
Because the work habits are, my attendance is worse than it's ever been. And I know they hate the school assignment. I know they hate the food routes. I know they don't like doing, but they've gotten a lot of bad habits. All they got to say is they had a fever. I had a fever, so I stayed home. That's what you said to do.
I got the sniffles.
Yeah. Oh, I sneezed when I got up. So I did what you told me to do.
Sure.
And I'm not saying my people are any different than anybody else. I'm just saying I am very nervous that with what staff we have should accommodate what we've got, but are they going to show up? Every day?
It was a struggle for a while there. I think December and January, I was begging people, no, you have to come in, but we don't have, no, you have to come in and get your hours. And then when we announced that we're going back 5-day, the requests for time off from March and April just exploded in my computer. And well, I got to get this taken care of. Like, well, you had since November. Oh, well, now they have an opening. And if you want an entertaining board meeting to watch, our last district one was the best. And one of our board members, we talked about this and the struggles my department's going to have. His answer is, well, you tell parents. Oh, well.
Well, and that's an interesting thought there, in that we had talked about this before the school year had even kicked off, was what are we going to do, right? We can't just run our office staff, our mechanics ragged and covering routes. No. So does somebody, the administration or the governing board, need to make a decision on if there's a COVID exposure or a driver needs to quarantine for 2 weeks or whatever, that a notification goes out from the district that says this route will be shut down for the next 2 weeks, and parents either need to transition their students to flex for 2 weeks like they would normally quarantine a classroom, or do something, along those lines of basically shutting down a route for 2 weeks. However, parents need to take their kid to school. I don't know. But I think that there's not any reason that you can't, however you can spin the narrative, in my opinion, is that you can use COVID as the excuse for just about anything now, right? And if we're in the caution and the most abundance of caution and safety, if we're going to tell drivers you have 9 or 10 options of things that they, could potentially be symptomatic, I guess now that more and more of these, rapid tests are becoming available, then, maybe go take a rapid test real quick and then come in and drive your afternoon. But if they don't feel safe, now you're asking them to be in an, potentially be putting themselves in an unsafe situation. Got a headache, you don't feel quite right, you're out of your elements, you're being forced to work, et cetera, et cetera. I don't see why it's so far-fetched to say that we're going to shut down a route for a couple of weeks.
I don't think any of us ever got the opportunity to get that far to have to ask our district to do it, to be honest with you. I don't know how many of my drivers, I think I got like 15 or 16 non-contact or whatever it was. I wasn't in close contact, but I got those letters when I was driving, but it never came to a point that I had to ask that to happen.
Well, because nobody's, and that's the thing, basically what they're saying is you're an essential worker. So as long as you're not symptomatic, you're clear to come back to work. But for right now, we're all experiencing people calling in saying, I woke up, I'm achy, I'm feverish, I'm whatever. So we say, okay, stay home, we'll cover your route. Well, maybe we need to have a conversation with our district leaders to say, now that we're getting ready to ramp up for 12 weeks of running, we're hoping that we're not going to shut back down and transition back to online. We got to know what 12 weeks of solid transportation looks like. So if I have 10 drivers to cover, know that I cannot cover it with my staff. And I think that you're within reason to say, can we get some buy-in or somebody to approve and say, we're just not going to run the route for a couple of weeks. Or whatever the time.
We've had that in our plan since the beginning, that we could cancel a route if we were short of drivers or driving staff.
And have you had to cancel one yet, Ron?
We haven't yet because we haven't gone back to the full end, but that's been a part of our conversation and communication out to our community. If we can't run a bus route, we have actually Blackboard Connect with our routing software that we can
Sure.
send a message out to the parents of that particular route. And if it's canceled, they just have to stay home for the day and work remotely.
Yep.
It's all part of our plan and communicated out to the community. So
See,
Oh.
I haven't had the issue where they call in because, oh, I don't feel good today. I have the sniffles. I haven't had that. Mine are just, they're bored with the assignment that was given to them here. And they're like, well, I'll just take one of my personal days, or I'm just going to take a leave of absence until we come back. So I haven't had that part, Jason, where it's like, oh, I've got the fever. I don't feel good. I'm not coming. I haven't had that. It's more of just their
Becoming
I want to
lazy.
monitor on a special needs route. I want to
Yeah,
drive. a
maybe
bus.
that's where our district's helping us out in that they're not offering leave of absences. So if it doesn't meet under the COVID guidelines that, you know, all the information is coming down from the feds, then they're basically telling them you either will work or you need, you know, fill out a resignation form. Those are their two options. They're not granting leaves.
yeah, we've been that place with our staff already, that either they return to work with the other assignments we have for them, or they have to decide to resign.
Sure.
And that's one of the things that has gotten us a little bit short-staffed too.
Well, ours was told, you know, okay, here's your leave of absence, but when you're called back because you're needed for this, you have to come back or you have to resign. So I mean, I think we got 4
So
or
all
5.
they do is
back.
resign.
No, they've actually come back to work.
Wow.
Now they
Yeah.
complain
So
about
at
what they
this
have to
point, you're
do.
not sure how that's gonna affect you because it hasn't happened yet. And that
Yep.
option is still out there weighing over your head, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Schools closed, grade levels closed, but we still have to run the regardless thus far. You're right, Ernie. I've got 6 special needs classes shut down right now through next week for transmission of the virus. So I've got some drivers that are only running 1 kid right now because those other classes are shut down because I can't cohort on the bus, but we're still running no matter what. I just asked my guys for a 60-day commitment. That's what we have left when we start on Monday is 60 days. I'm asking for a 60-day commitment. And now I got the thumbs up on them from them on it. And I want to be able to hold them to it. And I hope that's what I get, but.
So transition away from the COVID talks, how about we get in DPS a little bit? Anybody had DPS out at their facility yet? A couple of you?
We did, yeah. We didn't, it went pretty well. And Sarah, I saw your reaction earlier. I'm sorry. Ours went really well. I have to be honest, they weren't looking for something this year like they have in years past. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about. That
Well,
one little
We got the
piece of-
opposite. We
Oh,
got,
your
we got the
stickers are
opposite.
transparent. They're not, you know, you have to see through them. That's wrong. We didn't get any of that this year. It was actually pretty straightforward. And we did well. And there's a new guy running around with Officer Shields, if that's who you have, because Shields is on actually retirement, came back as a consultant this year to help out.
Sarah?
Ours was horrible. It was extremely nitpicky, and not something that we've experienced in the past. And so we had multiple fails, and you know, my mechanics were running around, and it was nitpicky. So we had a lot of work to do. And we had to have been one of the first districts this school year. They were here early in August.
They have any specific things that they were looking for you guys?
He actually like pulled the buses into the garage, got under all of them, like more thorough than we've ever seen. Found small, minute cracks on things that a regular driver would never have noticed. And if the mechanic hadn't had it up on a jack, they wouldn't have seen it either. So it was kind of caught us off guard.
My experience is the new thing, and maybe you guys had it before, but this year was if brake lines were touching anything else.
That was last year for me.
Was that last year? Because I know this year we had to go in and put a couple new separators in for the lines, or, you know, reroute a line. I mean, if it was touching anything, that was not whether it was leaking, just was it.
And Yeah, and last year he also downed a few of mine because they were zip tied together from the factory.
Right.
So, and I'm like,
That's
but
what I
you
mean, yeah, there's,
expected it from the dealer when I got them and it was fine. So yeah, I didn't get any of that this year. I was shocked. I was prepared for it. I was ready to call Eric to be my bodyguard for it, to hold, but no, this year actually went quick. He was here literally 3 days. Every single one was done. I had 2 down, but it was 2 buses that haven't been used because we haven't been doing anything.
yeah.
And once they were on the road, we were going to find it. So I'm sorry you had a bad experience, Sarah. I've had that for the
And
last 4
it
years.
had been pleasant previously. So, I mean, it was, like I said, it caught us
Good.
off guard and it
Not
was
my year to be picked on. Thank
little
God.
things.
And I'm not saying I had a bad experience. I'm just saying, I think that was one thing that was looked for, was that touching.
Well, the issue is, and we've all talked about this, is the inconsistency where year to year they find something new to pick on. It's, oh, your bristles are not touching the floor and it's got to be wiped. I'm putting this bus down. Oh, you can't use a bungee cord for your trash can because that's not secure. Oh, this, and it's like, just get to what's in minimum standards and pass it, or let me know it's not there, but don't nitpick. And I think that's the big issue, is the inconsistency we've had over the years. I'm just glad I didn't get picked on this year. It was Sarah's turn.
Thank you, Sarah.
Anyone?
Taking one for the team.
Steph, you can chime in here if you want. I know she just added a text, but feel free to unmute yourself.
Well, I just wanted to ask if anybody's heard about second half of the year emergency evacs. That's one of the questions I still get all the time. I know they're still on hold, but has there been a supplemental anything put out on when school goes back? You're going to have to do one. We don't care how you do it, just get one in. Has anybody heard anything?
I have. DPS said it's still on hold.
Interesting.
Good. I think right now, and I get it. I get the reason for the emergency. I understand all that. I just think right now it's the big focus is just getting kids back in right now, and that mental health part. I really do. We could always do them on our own. We don't have to wait for DPS to tell us to do them. You could do little mini ones with your kids as you drop them off on campuses. But it would be nice if we could get a direct from those that are in charge of our industry of a direction.
Yeah. Our my trainers are they've been working with the district videographer to create a video on bus evacuations. So I think the intent is that we'll be able to distribute those through classrooms and let students be able to watch those at least in class, and hopefully that will suffice, right? I get the DPS really hasn't come out and said anything. They haven't really said anything at all, period, about anything. So kind of a disappointment, I guess. But
Josh at Higley shared his video. Josh at Higley, they did a video in their district. He shared it a while ago. I think I still have it somewhere. We may talk to Josh if you didn't mind putting that up on our website as a resource. But it's something I was thinking with my guys also, getting just a little iPhone trick out like Coral did for her amazing series on safety in the shop, to create a video on bus evacs.
We used a video on bus evacs prior to our arrival to the schools. I have a lot of drivers who English is not their first language. So, they are able to conduct the bus evac, but having the students view it ahead of time makes the process a whole lot quicker, especially when we're on hot buses. So I've used that for these last 2 years. And, it's been much more successful and much more efficient to get kids on and off, because it's just a quick review on the bus to go through those safety elements. It's been very helpful.
When our training library has age appropriate, right, by grade level video you show, and I want to try to get those out available through the network, and I've been fighting IT. In my last district, that's what we did. So the teacher would show the video, then they come out. And what I like about it is, let's face it, not all of our drivers have a personality that can deliver a message or remember each and every, or even if you give them a card, they read half of it. What I like is they got that nice consistent information.
Oh, good.
You know they received
That
it,
is, that's excellent.
and then you go out and the guy points at the mic and the fire extinguisher and the exits, and then they go out the exit, whatever. So I think that's a wonderful way to do it. And I really want to pipe mine through the network like I did at my last district. I mean, it's only 8 years. It's only 8 years and they still haven't done it. But no, that's a wonderful thing, Sarah. I think it's the way to have the most consistent information out there.
Stephanie, is that
I
something?
wanted to tell you
that
guys,
we
I
can get
just
on
looked
the
it up.
trust?
Go ahead.
Stephanie, is that something we could put on resources? You're on mute.
I didn't hear your question because a couple of people were talking at the same time.
I'm just curious if like the trust has access to like a series like Ernie's talking about.
I mean, it would, when someone like Josh or Jason, what's your name? Jason is putting something together and don't mind sharing. I don't think that we would create something, and we haven't in the past purchased things for people to use that third parties have created. Part of the reason why is because I've had discussions with the DPS team before about whether a video meets the actual guideline, and if it does, what things have to occur for it to meet the guideline. And it's, to be honest with you, it's an area I really don't want to tell districts what's okay or how they have to do it. If videos are working for people, but there's still that physical component in real world where the kids are having to practice, there's not a problem. But I guess the long answer, Sarah, is no, we haven't, and I don't plan to.
I was gonna just let you guys know that this message I have is, I looked it up, is from Janisa at DPS, and it was just last week. And what she told me is that everything is currently on hold for evacuations due to COVID. We'll notify everyone when an update, with an update once that has changed. Sorry, I can't read today.
Do they have any updates about what's going on in their student transportation unit?
I know they moved to somewhere else, and I don't believe they're under DPS anymore.
Well, not under the troopers. There's
Correct.
under like licensing and.
Yeah.
And they're all at home right now.
Yeah, last I heard, they were still working from home because they didn't have a building for them yet.
They're
Right.
working from home and they're misplacing lots of things.
And
Yeah,
pending lots of audits.
I find myself sending duplicates in quite a bit because they're kicking stuff back saying, oh, we didn't get it. So I feel like I'm double and triple working on certain things.
Do you send it through email?
Yes.
Oh, okay, because I was only gonna suggest that because I haven't had trouble through email. I've had when I tried to fax anything.
I'm right there with you 2 and 3 times.
Not having that experience here.
Medical review is, I don't know if they just have their system on automatic and they're at home, but I'm getting a lot of kickbacks recently on them too. When I send it in and I receive something saying that they've updated, I give the driver the copy and say, keep this for your records. And what happens is they will still get that email saying, oh, you will expire within the next few days or something. And they'll resend in the paper that I gave them. And then they'll get something back in the mail or an email saying, oh, it was our mistake. We apologize. So on both sides, it seems like it's kind of being iffy, but.
Patrick, what's going on in Flagstaff?
Oh, in Flagstaff,
Yeah.
we got, we're supposed to have school starting on the 22nd, assuming everything goes well. We're gonna do 2 weeks of phased in. And I think we're looking at about 70% of our kiddos coming back. That's kind of what the survey results have shown. And we're gonna do attendance every day on the bus. So that's gonna be something brand new for us. Other than that, just responding to DPS audits every 6 to 8 weeks.
Are you guys gonna be doing attendance through Synovia?
We're gonna do both. We're gonna do attendance through Synovia and the paper printout from TransFinder that shows the students assigned to the stop. So the paper will be back up. Synovia is the preferred choice, but I'm sure I'm gonna have students who show up to the bus that don't have a bus pass because they didn't request transportation and
Sure.
didn't get the message. So we're working on a process to fix that once it happens. But yeah, they were, our numbers aren't as good as what their original targets were. So two things. One, our targets were actually lower than the state. So our they wanted us to have 75 cases per 100,000, but it looks like they're going to take that to the board and ask the board to modify those benchmarks to match what the state is saying the benchmark should be. And we'll see. We've got schools that are going to enforce masks as this is a escalated infraction, and then the other one's going to go, well, we're not really going to do it that way. We'll do our normal process. So some schools are treating the masks as a higher priority than others. But on the bus, they will be priority.
Sounds good. Good to finally probably get back in session, huh? You guys have been out all year?
We have been out all year. We've only had food and a few special needs. I did my 100-day report, and I think I had like 6 gen ed students entered and 3 sped students. And that was on my highest 25 days.
Yeah, I did notice that, or I have something to add to that. So maybe not necessarily being the 100-day guru or whatnot. I know that I've taught several sessions on it this year. Typically we count every Tuesday and Thursday, and so as I was preparing the data, I knew that we were going to fall short of the 25 consecutive or non-consecutive days to count on. So we actually had to go back and change our methodology for this year and just count 25 consecutive days from when kids came back from fall break up to basically Thanksgiving. So we had a lot of additional data entry to do. Fortunately, we were lucky that we count all 5 days of the week and that we don't only count 2 days a week. So Stephanie making some adjustment recommendations to the session that I help out and teach to our leadership training group on just some additional strategies in case we ever have to go through this again.
Well, we used to do all 100 days just because there was, I guess because if you pick 100 days, then that's really all your data. But last year or the year before, I was pulling the information. We have it on spreadsheets. I do an export and then bring it into a database that allows me to pick my top 25 days. So I can pick my top 25 counts. And as long as you identify them, whether it's before or after, you've got your days identified, and I'll print out that page that shows which days we counted. But yeah, I started using that method, and that allows me to have the days where there are actually students being transported to school.
Sure.
So if there was a day that there was no students transported or anything like that, they were automatically excluded because they're not in that top 25.
Yep. All right, we're closing in on the 1 hour mark. Anybody got any just quick open topics to discuss or anything that you'd like to discuss maybe in March when we come back from spring break?
I do have a topic, and I don't care whether we discuss it now or in March, but it might be too late. So my latest challenge is state testing, right? The kids have to be tested in person. So we're trying to decide how they want to offer transportation for those online learners to come into school for either the 3.5, 4.75 days of hours per day of testing. And so they put together a really cool schedule that included our last bus drop-off time. So I'm like, well, I don't know how you expect us to do that. So is it anybody else being told that they're going to bus in their online learners for in-person testing to meet state mandate?
Not yet.
We already, thank God we're already talking, because it's going to be a doozy.
Roosevelt is having that conversation right now. So we're in that same boat right now.
Well, I think everybody's going to end up, I mean, I think everybody's going to be up in the boat. I can't imagine. Well, I can. If you chose online learning, you don't have a ride in, the parents are going to have to get them. But if they can't get there, you're not going to meet your numbers testing. So I'd imagine they're going to come to you guys, to all of us, like mine has. And I strongly recommend that you're at the front end of that conversation, because they put a beautiful schedule together. It covers all the hours. It does not directly impact, but they don't understand deadhead time, load out time, and all that. And I'm like, look, so you're going to cost everybody your 70% that are in school to be late picked up on those days that you have the 4.75 and it goes to 1:45. And now I got to have a load out, go take them home, get back to a school to take PM. But I'm just letting you know, if you aren't beginning those, maybe you begin that conversation, reach out and say, are you going to intend to have us bring in the online learners, and can I be part of that scheduling conversation? It may behoove you to do that, because we are, they know transportation better than I do. I mean, they do. They're really, I don't even understand why I'm here sometimes. So they told me I could do it, but I'm thinking it's next to impossible to meet their schedule they proposed, offered some recommendations on what we couldn't, would meet, but yet they don't have a list of students either. So I don't know if I'm arguing for nothing, but they're like, it'll only be like 30 students a day. But their 30 students turns into 45 or 60 all over, so I'm like, well, give me a list by grade level, by date that you want moved and where they're coming from, so I can create stops and routes. Yeah. Well, don't worry about it. It won't be bad. So we're in that right now. I'm just giving a heads up to everyone. I think that mandate would be the same for every district. And I would think that your people come to the same conclusion mine did, and that's if we have to bring them in.
Well, where did they decide they're going to test them at? I mean,
at the school that they refuse to go to.
Their homeschool.
Oh, okay.
I think we're going to roll them in like big gerbil balls. Like they're going to get in it from the bus, and we're going to roll them in so they don't touch anything. It's the school that they're avoiding. They're going to bring them into and test them. But I think they're going to make like a tunnel or something. I don't know. And they're going to feed them, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. But I think you're all going to be there.
So we're
they can also choose to not
yes.
participate. Am I right?
Yes.
Right. But the district has pressure to get that percentage to, and I won't try to quote it because Tommy will laugh at me later when I miss severely. But, they have a pressure to test a certain percentage of their students. And that's why they want to offer service like bus, and they'll be fed, and so that parents will make the decision to have them come test. I see Ernie mentioned a central location. Mine is not. Mine are bringing them to their home school. So I'm having to serve all schools for this opportunities. So just a thought, Jason, I mean, I know we're coming up on our hour, but everyone, please be aware that I think that challenge is the next thing in your pipe right after you bring back kids, because I think it's a March, April test session right in there, a 5-6 week period. They got to do all students.
Yep. Yep.
Right in, should
So
be
I-
right
I
around
have a-
1st of April.
I have a quick question if anybody has answers or knows from their district level. Any idea how much enrollment you've lost because people have gone to, say, like a charter?
1,100.
You've
Cartwright.
lost 1,100?
Yes.
We lost 1,000 in Cartwright.
Yeah, same at Kyrene.
And that's not counting the 700 that signed up for Digital Learning Academy that will only get 95% funding for. But so total on in person, we're going to be down 1,800 as of right now for next year.
Wow. Okay.
So my
I think we
14
were only
open
off
route
about-
positions, they're going to cut, I think, 7 or 8 of those because they don't expect that ridership because they're not going to be there. So
Our demographer
But
has
you have the
some,
lo-
our demographer has some interesting thoughts on that. He thinks that there's 2 demographics that are potentially, because of this, the lower income families may have potentially just decided not to send, basically withdraw their students and not send them to school at all. Whereas the more affluent families have pooled monies together to hire a teacher and take, basically like a mini school or whatever, hire a teacher to come in and teach, 10 to 15 kids for say 4 or 5 families. And those kids are, I would imagine that because of tax credits and other information that probably legal purposes and whatnot, they should be able to account for that. It sounds like the state is missing several thousand students because they're not in a charter school or a public school.
well, and remember, kindergarten is not required in the state of Arizona. So a lot of parents, just that the kids were starting kinder, they said, I'm just not going to do it. We're going to wait till 1st grade next year. So I think our 1st graders next year that are coming in, the teachers are going to have to put, and this is the education side of me coming that teacher background, they're going to have to push to catch these kids up. I think that's going to be the biggest piece. I think we're going to see an enrollment spike just for 1st grade because we can't count those kindergartners this year because we never got them.
Right.
So that's another piece to keep in mind also. Kindergarten's not required. Remember, it's only funded at half day. So if you have a full day kindergarten program, the district's picking up that other piece of it to pay for it. So
yeah.
And our schools in Cartwright are closed. The board decided that we're going to remain in distance learning for the rest of this school year, but we are starting summer school 4 days a week on June 1st and running it all of June and all of July with transportation. And that's going to be what Tommy's talking about, that jump start, really targeting the 1st through 3rd graders to try to get those kinders that withdrew back in school and get them started to be successful in August. So we'll be working all summer.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the next, Eric mentioning the testing. I think our next discussion is going to come on what summer school going to look like, because I think districts are going to jump on that more than the 3 weeks, 3.5 hours a day that they do. And part of the CARES Act and ESSER funds was that I think it was up to 50 hours or something that they were going to get. I think districts are going to jump on that. And I think we're going to see summer school not be just Title I. They're going to open it up to so much more. And we're going to be running like full departments through June and part of July this year. I really do.
Our district's starting to talk about that. And I figured we'd save that for the next conversation. As far as just summer, we could probably talk a lot about what summer will look like, what we're being asked. We're already having initial conversations on that. But
I would just pencil it in and start thinking about it and begging your staff to come work this summer, because mine, I have to beg them to work every summer because they just don't want to.
Same. I'm looking at probably already needing at least 25 drivers and probably monitors to be able to, to cover summer school. So, it sounds like they're going to allow us to be flexible, that if we don't get that many, that we can do, a staggered east and west. So, 8 to noon, and then the east side does 9 to 1 or something like that we can split it in half. But, it's just going to get creative. So.
And that's why that's why I like having Sarah in these calls, because she was a principal, so she can help us understand this other side of it too.
Yep.
And I don't just look like the fool trying to make it up as I go.
And then I made
Yeah.
the recommendation for the summer school that we do our normal staggered starts that we do for our grade levels anyway.
Yep.
So that's going to help us with the same thing, the staffing issue
Staffing
of
issues,
those
yep.
limited drivers and monitors that are willing to work. And, you know, I'm not going to have enough staff to do all of our 20 schools. So,
Yep.
you know, that's going to help.
Well, I think a really productive conversation today. Thank you for everybody that attended. We'll get this one up, published and on the website here in the next couple days for anybody that wants to rewatch it or share with your friends. So until then, if you have any other topics that you want to add to our March meeting, we'll probably, I think most everybody's spring breaks beginning of March. So we'll probably look at, say, March 26th. Is a Friday, or we could go April 2nd and skip March altogether. It depends on if March 26th is agreeable. We'll shoot for that Friday.
Like March, so we can start talking how we're living after everyone coming back from spring
All
break.
right, we'll shoot for March 26th then, and I'll send the invite out. Hopefully I can get it out the right way this time. I messed it up, so my apologies. But
We thank you, Jason. You do
yeah,
a
no
great job.
problem. All right, everybody. Enjoy your spring breaks. Stay safe, and we'll see you in a month. All right.
See ya.
Hey.
Good night.